Patrick and Casca are in love, but he keeps doubting her. Things get worse when everyone thinks Casca is cheating on him. They're both stubborn, so the lack of communication threatens to break them apart. Casca is a scientist traveling from Poland to America to receive an award. Her partner, Patrick, is worried about her ex-boyfriend, Bob, being there. She assures him there's no chance of her getting back with the guy who cheated on her. She knows people always gossip in Podhale, but she asks him to trust her. There's going to be a huge time difference, but Casca promises to call every day for the week she'll be there. After Casca gets on the flight, Patrick is excited about defeating everyone in the sleigh race with his special golden arrow. It's still in the workshop, but he knows he will be the next champion in the couple's race, which will make him a true Gazda. Everyone around is gossiping about Casca leaving Patrick for Bob. Jedris and Wackus discuss the baptism. They think it might have to be cancelled if Casca and Patrick are not together. People start hugging Patrick, and he feels weird as they comfort him for being lonely. A local asks Jedris and Wackus about the rumor. He also thinks Casca will marry Bob in America. Jedris is Casca's brother, but he's still afraid she might be cheating on him. He thinks women are fickle, but he doesn't want to admit anything in front of strangers. He blames Wackus for gossiping about them, and now everyone thinks something is wrong. Frank brings Wloic to his grandpa Jasik's cabin. His grandfather has done very well for himself, and his pension is amazing. Wloic is worried about not earning enough, but he still thinks the cabin is perfect. Frank is worried about a bear being near the cabin. Wloic can see the marks too, but he hopes it's a groundhog. He asks Frank to bring all the boxes he wants stored in the warehouse. Wloic assures Frank that Marilla knows about this warehouse. He claims Marilla wants the liquor transported there because the other warehouse is not safe. Jedris is trying to call Wackus, who doesn't pick up. He learns from Patrick that Wackus is out with a client for cross-country skiing. Jedris wonders if Casca called Patrick. She left him a message when she arrived, and Patrick thinks that's enough. He is sure she is busy, but Jedris also thinks she will cheat on him. Patrick claims he trusts her, but Jedris still insists he should call her to clarify things. Patrick is getting his sleigh upgraded to make it better for the couple's race. He bribes the man repairing it to speed up the process. The same local who thinks Casca is cheating on Patrick asks if he can buy the sleigh from him. He thinks Patrick has no use for it, but Patrick is sure he will participate in the race with Casca. When Patrick leaves, both the men feel bad about how Casca is treating him. Patrick gives in to the pressure and calls Casca when she's sleeping. He claims he's missing her, but she needs to get her full sleep, since it's 5 in the morning. Patrick admits he's worried, because she didn't call him after reaching there. She just asks him to trust her, so she can sleep and be fresh for television the next morning. He is proud of her, and wishes her luck. Wackus is teaching a tourist, Monica, how to ice skate when Jedris finds him. Jedris interrupts them because he wants to discuss his brother-in-law, Patrick. He is worried women will start flirting with Patrick, now that they think he is alone. He is also worried because he thinks Patrick hasn't called Casca yet. He thinks Patrick might go crazy and obsessive about the race. Wackus thinks he's from Warsaw and can't fit in with them as the champion for the race. But he still agrees to help Jedris if he is so worried. Kacper and Veronica chase a wave and feel proud after their Stilo Beach adventure. He has a surprise for her and takes her somewhere in his RV. She races him to the top of a lighthouse, where he asks her to marry him. Veronica is thrilled and kisses him. She thinks they should do the wedding their way while traveling, with just the two of them in Portugal. He seems to hesitate, and she reminds him it's their dream to chase Nazare, the world's largest wave. He thinks they can go next year, because he has a job offer. He thinks it's a great opportunity for them, but she knows she won't be able to do anything while he works. She thinks he has betrayed her, and leaves in the RV after dropping his bag. Some tourists are taking a photo with Patrick's cut out in a costume. He offers to pose for real with them, and claims the original outfit isn't available. He brings them to a bar and shares a local drink, Wloic, with them. Pola and her assistant Jola are scientists, who are doing research for a project. They're working on an essay on the carnival traditions and group customs in Podhale. Pola asks Jola to keep taking notes of everything they observe. Pola notices he likes to travel, and he brags about travel through the Sahara in 2 to 3 months. Veronica turns up there and thinks he must have taken the longer way. She crossed it much earlier in an RV and doesn't care for Patrick's bragging. She's looking for a mechanic, and he claims to be the best one. But she would rather find someone else, and leaves. Pola thinks this was all a strategy by her to confuse the male. She asks Jola to add these observations about their behaviors in the notes too. Patrick thinks they should go to the White Bear dance, where they can get a lot of material for their research. Frank compliments Marilla about the decorations at the White Bear dance, but she's worried because the rest of her liquor boxes have disappeared from her warehouse. Frank understands this has something to do with Wloic, but doesn't mention anything. When Marilla claims Wloic told her some demons took it, he is sure Wloic is up to something. Jedris, who is Frank's father, asks if he has spoken to Patrick about the baptism. He is still worried that Patrick and Casca's unstable relationship will embarrass them in front of their 300 guests. They had planned a smaller ceremony earlier, but more guests are now involved after the word spread. Patrick turns up there too, and assures Jedris that he has spoken to Casca. On a sunny day in California, the TV show host ends her segment with Miss Winter. Her next guest is Casca, and she asks her to keep her phone away so it doesn't interfere with their show. They're about to go on air, so Casca hands her phone to Betty, the assistant. Betty walks backstage and hands the phone over to a man. At the party in Pod Hill, everyone is dancing in bear costumes. Jagoda, who is Frank's wife, argues with him about the baptism. Her baby is getting baptized, and she only wants Patrick and Casca to be the godparents. Patrick assures everyone that Casca did call him, and asks them to stop the music. He has an announcement to make, but Jedris still thinks he shouldn't do it publicly. Patrick trusts Casca, so he decides to call her in front of everyone to put a rest to all the rumors. She is about to accept the award for creating a digital apiary on television, and he wants everyone to be a part of it. Patrick dials her when she's talking to the TV show host about her work. The phone is with her ex, Bob, who claims Casca is in the shower with him. He wants Patrick to back off because he claims they're together. He thinks Patrick is naive to think Casca only came back to the USA for research. Bob is sure he has won from Patrick and taunts him about it. Everyone's suspicions are confirmed, and Patrick feels humiliated in front of the crowd. As Bob watches Casca on TV, he gets a delivery of roses from Betty. The host announces a special segment for the first time in their Santa Monica studio. They want to see if she can forgive, and Casca feels shocked when someone approaches her. Patrick finds Veronica's RV parked in the middle of nowhere, and reminds her she's not allowed to park there. Veronica's RV is not working, which is why she wanted a mechanic. But she doesn't want his help, and claims she will be fine there in the cold. He still helps her and tows her RV. He brings it to their house and gives her a place to stay. She looks at the photo of him with Casca, and asks if a girl will throw her out soon. Patrick claims it's not going to be a problem anymore. Veronica shares that Pod Hill is just a stopover for her, and she's supposed to be very far away from there. She looks at photos of his travels, and he explains that he travels alone. He gives her a blanket, and asks her to wake up on time if she wants breakfast. Frank knows Wloic made him steal from Marilla, and he refuses to deceive his own people anymore. Wloic assures him that no one has to know if Frank doesn't say anything to anyone. Frank is scared, and he decides to leave. Wloic thanks his client for coming quickly, and wants to make a deal. He explains that the child's godmother, Casca, misbehaved in the USA. Now he thinks the baptism ceremony might not happen, and they'll have a surplus of the local liquor he stole from Marilla. He asks the man to buy it, but he refuses. Veronica wakes up in her Kacper's boxers, because that is all she has. She claims she's angry at Kacper for stealing her dreams. She still thanks Patrick for hosting her. Patrick notices a man on his property and tries to make him leave. It turns out to be Kacper, who has come back to take his stuff. The RV belongs to Kacper too, but Veronica thinks she was right to take it away from him. Kacper thinks Patrick is her new boyfriend, and asks if she slept with him. Veronica wants to make him suffer, so she claims she slept with Patrick. But Casca also comes back right then, and demands an explanation. Patrick assures her he only let Veronica stay in the house because she was freezing in the snow. But he doesn't like explaining, because he thinks Casca is a liar. He knows Bob was there with her, even if she assured him he won't be. He explains that everyone in Pod Hill is making fun of him because of her. She doesn't understand the incident he is referring to, because her phone got stolen. She also got kicked out of the show and had to come back early. She assures him she didn't sleep with Bob, but he doesn't believe her. Veronica throws out Kacper's stuff, and claims the RV is not going anywhere till someone tows it. She tries to make him jealous, and claims she'll live with these people in the meantime. Patrick wants to leave because he still doesn't trust Casca. She teases him about Veronica, so he claims he will stay with her. Kacper refuses to leave till Veronica listens to what he has to stay. Casca offers Kacper her basement, because Patrick is not sleeping in the house anyway. Patrick prepares a tent for himself, and Veronica feels bad about all the confusion. She wants to clarify things to Casca, but Patrick doesn't think it's worth it. It's too chilly outdoors, so he knocks on Veronica's RV and she lets him in. Casca gives Kacper all instructions about where he will sleep. She's sure Patrick hasn't slept with Veronica because she knows him well. They're only fighting because he doesn't trust her and refuses to let her explain. Kacper thinks he's in a similar situation because Veronica is not letting him explain after he proposed. Jedris and Wackus are spying on them, and Jedris thinks Casca is with Bob. But they realize the man doesn't look like Bob. Wackus feels Casca seems as unstable with men as Patrick is with women. He thinks they're all going to live polyamorously now. Wackus offers to let his cousins be the godparents at the baptism. Jedris refuses the offer and thinks all the misunderstandings will be cleared out within a week. Casca rants to Marilla and Jagoda about how Patrick doesn't trust her at all. She claims she couldn't deal with Bob because she was captured by an anti-terrorist group. They took her to the airport and forced her on a plane. She claims the FBI and CIA were all involved, but they don't believe her. She even lost her phone, so she couldn't call. Marilla wants her to know even if they believe her, the men won't. Patrick gets possessive about Kacper cutting his wood. He thinks it should be handled carefully and tries to show him how to do it. He's not able to break any wood, but Kacper easily does it. He thinks it's just luck and asks Kacper to get his own wood. That night, Patrick pretends to hug Veronica just to show it to Casa. Jedris and Wackus roll some barrels, which is part of the plan to get Casca and Patrick back together. Jedris asks Wackus to use his brain about what he needs to do with it, and he has been assigned to Patrick. Wackus gives the barrels to Patrick and claims he could use them for wine or make ice baths out of it. He asks Patrick to come to the bonfire because he has also invited the tourists there. Patrick doesn't care about the tourists and claims Frank can help Wackus with the bonfire. But Frank is apparently busy somewhere, and he claims even Casca isn't coming. Kacper asks Patrick if he takes ice baths and teases him about them. Jedris finds Casca cleaning and asks if they're an open couple. He is worried about people gossiping, but she doesn't care about them. He wants her help with the bonfire and pretends Patrick isn't coming, so he needs her. As the car rolls in, Jedris is excited about his plan working. But Patrick arrives at the bonfire with Veronica, and Jedris is disappointed. Casca also arrives there with Kacper, and both the couples pretend to be with each other to make their partners jealous. Pola is disappointed Patrick is there with Veronica because she was hoping to get with him. She claims she's only telling Casca this because she knows they're separated. When Veronica makes an excuse to get back to the car, Kacper comes to sit with Patrick. He claims the sausages are over, but asks Kacper to drink with him. They all start partying in the bar, while Kacper and Patrick keep drinking to challenge each other. Veronica asks Casca to give Patrick a break, because he's a nice guy. But Casca isn't happy about Veronica staying on her property and flirting with Patrick. Veronica wants her to know she would rather be far away from here. Veronica asks Pola to stop flirting with Patrick, because he's taken. Casca assumes she's talking about herself and storms out. Kacper thanks Casca for taking him in and helping so much. He's working on correcting video games, which is what he does for a living. She teases him about not being able to correct his own life. Kacper wants Veronica back and doesn't know what he should do to convince her. Casca asks him to stop feeling sorry for himself. Other than that, she thinks they should give their partners a display of the affair they're expecting. Casca takes off her clothes and lies down on a bed. Veronica knows Kacper has a magical touch, and his massages are the most erotic. He learned it in Hawaii, and she knows no woman can resist it. Patrick wants to go inside and stop them, but Kacper closes the blinds before they begin the massage. Casca thinks they've done enough of a display, and thanks him. Jagoda is considering postponing the baptism if things aren't fine between Casca and Patrick. Marilla thinks Casca should not let Patrick go, since he's a nice guy. They tease her about Kacper and have heard about him having the magical touch. Casca thinks he's a kid and is not interested in him. Marilla still thinks this charade has been going on for a long time. She asks Casca to stop being stubborn and make things work with Patrick. Casca doesn't want to involve another couple in their fight either, and wants to help them get back together. Patrick challenges Kacper to ski with him, and they find a spot in the middle of the night. Patrick is hurt, but he celebrates getting to the end before Kacper. The women are waiting for them, and start scolding their significant partners when they get back. Patrick tries to chase Casca to convince her, while Kacper tries to comfort Veronica. The women think this rivalry between the men is stupid, and that they need to grow up. Patrick seems to be in pain, so Kacper offers to give him a massage. But he realizes he can't go back into the house to follow Casca, so he heads back to the RV. That night, Veronica puts her hand on Patrick while sleeping. Casca comes out to spy on them and feels bad to see how they're sleeping. When she leaves, Veronica apologizes for coming there to sleep. Patrick claims it's fine and goes to sleep on the couch. Casca wants to spend some time alone in the mountains, but Kacper wants to go with her. She gives Patrick a look before leaving, and he decides to follow them with Veronica. Casca feels worse when she finds Patrick and Veronica there. When Veronica trips, Patrick catches her. This is a lot for Casca, and she wants to be alone. Kacper walks over to talk to Veronica, who thinks this place was great till he ruined it. Kacper thinks she never let him explain and just left. He wants her to know the job was one of the options, and he still hasn't accepted the offer yet. They remind Patrick and Casca of how they used to be. Their relationship hasn't been easy, and this makes Casca angrier, and she walks off. Marilla thinks they need to meddle in their business, because both Patrick and Casca are very stubborn. When she finds out the storehouse is empty, she gets angry and calls Wloic. He assumes it's his client, and assures them everything is ready. When he learns that it's Marilla, he claims the liquor is still in the warehouse. But she's standing in front of an empty warehouse, and he knows it's a problem. He cuts her call after pretending he can't hear her. He calls his clients to let them know there's a minor issue with the liquor, but he assures them he's taking care of it. Patrick comes to pick up his sleigh, but Casca has already taken it. He thinks she's stealing it, but she got it back for him. He reminds her he left his old ways to learn everything about her culture. He wanted this race to be for both of them, but she thinks he needs to do it alone. Wackus is late to meet Jedris, but he has a plan. He thinks they need to isolate the younger couple, and wants to discuss the plan over a drink. Kacper and Patrick want to prove they're tough, and agree to get into the ice baths. They're both clearly freezing, but neither of them wants to give up. Casca knows they're stubborn, and makes a call. They're shivering when the women bring them out of the baths, and Jagoda thinks they might go into a coma. They need rubbing therapy, so Casca offers to get the twigs. Patrick is scared of the twigs, and thinks Kacper will soon find out what he means. As Veronica and Casca beat them with twigs, Jagoda realizes Marilla was right. She asks her to initiate her plan. When Veronica is alone, Jagoda wants to talk to her about cleaning up the mess she started. Casca arrives at their place so she can help Marilla make more Litwaroka before the parade the next day. They ask her to get the bottles from a room, but lock her inside. She gets irritated about Veronica also being there, and wants to desperately get out. Veronica asks her to calm down, because they won't let either of them out till they have talked. Veronica admits she didn't sleep with Patrick, and Casca also admits she didn't with Kacper. The problem for Casca is that Patrick doesn't trust her. Veronica thinks Patrick is going crazy trying to do things for Casca. She also knows Kacper is trying to change for Veronica. They realize they need to do something to fix this. Patrick is trying to fix the RV, and claims he knows everything about it. Kacper clarifies that he hasn't done anything with Casca, and Patrick thinks she's out of his league anyway. Kacper feels the same way about Patrick. He hasn't repaired the engine in a long time, so Patrick asks him to get the tools from inside. Marilla asks Jagoda if she convinced her friend to send the video. Jagoda has done it anonymously, but had to pay a lot for it. When they're convinced Casca and Veronica have reconciled, they let them out, but they still need help with the liquor and get to work. Patrick gets the footage of what actually happened on the day of Casca's award. Bob comes to ask for her forgiveness and proposes to her, but she rejects him and starts hitting him. She gets so violent that they have to call the police on television. Patrick feels proud of her, but someone hits him on the head. The kidnappers take Patrick and Kacper to a warehouse, even if they initially wanted to kidnap Veronica instead of Patrick. The kidnappers turn out to be Jedris and Wackus. They apologize to Patrick, but they need to keep them there for the night. They find all of Marilla's liquor and wonder who's driving up there. When Wloic enters, he gets confused to find Patrick and Kacper tied up. Jedris hits him from behind, but they apologize to him later. Wloic thinks kidnapping is a worse crime than what he did by stealing Marilla's liquor. But they come to an agreement, and Jedris and Wackus promise to not tell Marilla anything if Wloic doesn't mention the kidnapping. The women dress Veronica up in traditional clothes, and they all dance around. Casca invites her inside, but they agree to talk to their partners later. In the morning, Kacper's phone is inside the house, and Patrick isn't picking his phone up. Veronica thinks they might have gone to the mountains again. But it's the day of the race. Patrick's sleigh is still there, so Casca thinks her brother might have some answers. Patrick manages to free himself of the ropes and helps Kacper too. Wloic is worried because a bear came down from the mountain, and the men inside the cabin might be in danger. Patrick gives Kacper some liquor to warm him up. He also realizes he has a lot of calls from Casca. She asks Jedris about Patrick and Kacper, but they refuse to say anything. Patrick and Kacper realize a huge bear is outside the cabin, and Kacper wants to run away. Patrick reminds him that a bear runs at the speed of 60 kilometers per hour, and there's no way they can outrun it. He tries to Google what they should do in such a situation. Marilla knows Wloic has her liquor, because some businessmen from the Czech Republic want their merchandise. She assures them they will get it, but they decide to torture the men first. Jedris still refuses to reveal their location, but Wackus claims they did it for Casca. Wloic wants them to know Jedris and Wackus left Patrick and Kacper at the mercy of wild animals. When she asks for the location, Frank knows they must be in the same cabin. Patrick and Kacper are panicking as the bear closes in, and he reads out instructions about hiding behind a tree that don't apply to their situation. Casca and Veronica arrive at the cabin, and don't know what to expect with all the blood and markings of a bear. They slowly enter to find Kacper and Patrick hiding, and safe from the bear. Kacper is glad Veronica came to rescue him, and kisses her. Patrick finally believes that Casca didn't sleep with Bob, or Kacper, or anyone else. He apologizes, and they kiss and make up too. Patrick's sleigh is ready, and he brags about how well he will do in the race. The video of Casca beating Bob goes viral, and everyone is happy to see it. Patrick can finally take part in the couple's race with Casca, and he's more than happy to ride along with her. Wackus claims he always knew Casca was innocent, and scolds Jedris for doubting her. Kola and Jola join them. This time, Jedris entertains them and helps with their notes about groundhogs. At the baptism, Jagoda and Frank are proud of their baby, and they have Patrick and Casca as the godparents. Patrick has fixed their RV, and Veronica and Kacper are ready for their next adventure. Kacper has asked his job to give remote work, without which he refuses to work for them. Kacper invites Patrick for a rematch someday, but he wants to do it on the waves and not a sleigh. Casca wonders if they should buy an RV too, and asks how long Patrick will take to repair the motorcycle. After some time, Patrick and Kacper are about to surf. Kacper thinks he can back out if he wants, but Patrick as usual is ready to prove himself, and they head towards the ocean.